I caught her with my own eyes. Not just messages. Not rumors. I walked in and saw my fiancée, the woman I was supposed to marry in less than 2 months, wrapped around a man who collects garbage for a living. She looked me dead in the eyes and laughed. You think you know someone, until you see what they do when they think you'll never find out. It was a Thursday morning. I remember because I had taken the day off to surprise her with breakfast. We were 2 months from our wedding date. I'd booked the venue, paid the deposit, even ordered custom cufflinks with our initials engraved on them. I thought it'd be sweet, show up at her place with bagels, coffee, and a handwritten note. Just something small to make her smile. But she wasn't answering her door. I called her phone. No answer. I figured maybe she was in the shower, so I let myself in. We never had secrets. She gave me a key 6 months ago. Said I was the only one she trusted. When I opened the door, it hit me immediately, someone else's shoes by the entrance. Not dress shoes. Not sneakers. Thick rubber boots. Mud-stained. Heavy-duty. The kind sanitation workers wear. My first thought wasn't even cheating. I thought maybe her apartment building had a plumbing issue or something. But then I heard her laugh. And not just any laugh. That laugh she only used when she was being flirtatious. Playful. The one she used on me when we first met. I walked through the living room. The curtains were drawn, but not fully. A sliver of daylight cut through just enough to illuminate what I saw next. She was on the couch, legs over his lap, wearing nothing but one of my old college t-shirts. He was kissing her neck. He had on a city waste management vest still halfway zipped down. There was dirt, literal dirt, on the couch I helped her pick out at IKEA. I froze. She saw me first. She didn't gasp. She didn't scream. She smirked. Then she said, "Guess your lunch break came early, huh?" He looked over his shoulder at me. Then back at her. Then back at me. And she laughed. Laughed. "Don't look so surprised," she said. "I mean, what did you expect? You're so trusting. It's almost cute." I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. She stood up, barefoot, and walked toward me slowly like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just walked in on her betraying me with a man who literally handles trash for a living. "You gonna cry?" she whispered, mockingly. "Because if you are, I'll need you to take it outside. I just had the carpets cleaned." That was the moment something in me snapped. But not in the way you'd expect. I didn't scream. I didn't yell. I just turned around, walked out the door, and shut it behind me. That was the last time I stepped foot in that apartment. But it wasn't the last time I saw her. Not even close. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car for hours with the engine off, staring at the steering wheel like it had answers. I wanted to believe it was some kind of mistake. That maybe there was some twisted logic behind it. That maybe she'd call and say it wasn't what it looked like. But she didn't. She didn't call that night. Or the next morning. She texted the next afternoon. "You left your hoodie. Want me to drop it off?" Not a word about what happened. No apology. No explanation. Just casual indifference like she forgot she'd shattered the life we were building. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too much. A day later, I caved. I shouldn't have, but I did. I sent her a long message. Not angry. Not confrontational. Just confused. Hurt. I told her I still loved her. That I didn't understand. That maybe we could talk. Maybe it wasn't too late. She left me on read. I waited another day. Then she called. When I picked up, her voice was calm. Not even tired. Just bored. "Listen," she said. "I don't know what kind of fantasy you're living in, but I'm not going to sit here and let you beg. It's pathetic." I felt the blood drain from my face. "I'm not begging," I said quietly. She laughed. "Yes, you are. You're hoping I'll say it was a mistake. That I'll cry and say I miss you. That's not happening. You're not even mad. You're just desperate." I wanted to hang up. I should have. But I didn't. "I just don't get it," I said. "Why him?" She didn't hesitate. "Because he makes me feel things. Because he doesn't ask me 20 questions every time I go out. Because he's not a weak little thing who folds the second something goes wrong." She let that sink in before she twisted the knife deeper. "You think love is enough. It's not. You were easy. Predictable. You planned your whole life around me. You gave me all the control. And I took it. Because I could." I sat there in silence, tears welling up. She wasn't just done with me, she was enjoying this. "Oh, and by the way," she added, "I've been seeing him for 5 months. Thought you'd figure it out sooner. Guess I gave you too much credit." I finally found the strength to end the call. 3 minutes later, she sent a photo. It was her, on the same couch, smiling. His hand around her waist. middle finger aimed at the camera. Caption: "You can keep the hoodie." I wanted to scream, break something. But instead, I sat in my room staring at that photo, wondering how someone I loved that much could enjoy hurting me this badly. I still loved her. I still wanted her back. And that's when I knew I'd hit rock bottom. But something else stirred inside me that night. Not rage. Not hate. Focus. Because if she wanted to play games, fine. She just picked the wrong loser. The day after she sent that photo, I deleted it from my phone. Not because I was over it, but because I didn't want to keep looking at her face every time I unlocked the screen. I moved my wedding folder, the venue bookings, the guest list, the suit measurements, to a hard drive I shoved in a drawer and didn't touch again. But I didn't throw it away. I started watching her. Not in person. I couldn't stomach that. But I knew her routine. I knew how she moved, what she posted, who she hung out with. Her social media wasn't private, never had been. She loved attention too much. She started posting pictures again. Not of him, but of herself, captioned with things like healing, new beginnings, and finally free. Every photo was curated like a brand campaign. Same couch, same apartment, just without me in the frame. Mutual friends started asking questions. Some reached out to check on me. Most didn't. The ones who stayed silent, I remembered their names. One guy, in particular, kept liking all her photos. He used to text me for fantasy football pics. I made a list. I started journaling. Not the emotional kind, the strategic kind. I wrote everything down. Who she worked with, where she banked, what bills she paid late. I remembered she once bragged about skimming tips from her old cafe job by underreporting cash sales. I remembered the time she used my address to avoid a parking violation. Little things. Sloppy things. Things she never thought would matter. They would. I wasn't ready to act yet. I didn't have enough. I needed to watch longer. Learn more. I followed the trash guy, not in person, but online. He had a public account. Not many posts, but enough to confirm a few things. He lived paycheck to paycheck, had a suspended license last year, and was recently tagged in a story buying tools from a pawn shop. The kind of guy who'd fold under pressure. She downgraded fast. But she didn't just betray me. She humiliated me, mocked me, treated me like some disposable fool who'd never fight back. So I started playing dumb. I texted her one day, casually. Told her I found an old necklace of hers. Asked if she wanted it back. She replied instantly. Nah, give it to your next mistake. But the fact that she answered told me something. She wasn't sure I was really done. She still thought she had the upper hand. I let her think that. I let her think I was broken. That I was still crying over her. That I'd go quiet, disappear, maybe try to move on quietly while she flaunted her new life. But in the background, I was building something. A plan. Not for revenge. Not yet. That wasn't the goal. The goal was clarity. Precision. Control. She took everything from me because I gave her all the power. Now I was taking it back. Inch by inch. And when the time came, I'd make sure she remembered every single inch she ever stepped over me. 3 weeks after I saw her on that couch, she posted a photo in front of a new salon. New hair, same smile. Caption: big changes. Bigger energy. I recognized the place. It wasn't far from my old job. That mattered. Because what she didn't know, what she never bothered remembering, was that the salon was inside a small business plaza. And I owned part of it. A forgotten investment I made with a college friend 5 years ago when I had a little money and zero foresight. I never paid attention to it. The property was handled by a management firm. I didn't even know the salon had moved in until I saw the background in her photo. So I made a call. Not as a jealous ex. As a partial landlord. I requested a surprise inspection for insurance compliance. The firm arranged it. 2 days later, I watched from across the parking lot in my car as a fire marshal and a rep from the firm walked into the salon while she was working the desk. She didn't see me. I didn't need her to. An hour later, I got a text from one of my property contacts. Minor violations. Nothing serious. But they'll have to close for 2 business days while it gets fixed. Looks like she manages the front. Seemed caught off guard. Good. I wasn't trying to ruin her life. Not yet. I was just tapping the glass. A signal. Letting her feel the chill of consequences creeping in from somewhere she couldn't trace. That night, she posted a vague story. Some people are so obsessed it's sad. But she didn't know it was me. Couldn't know. And I didn't stop there. Remember the guy who kept liking her photos? The one who used to text me for fantasy football pics? I still had access to a shared folder from our old league. It contained everyone's emails, some old documents, and spreadsheets. That's all I needed. I forwarded screenshots of their public interactions, comments, heart emojis, flirty replies to his girlfriend. No message. No explanation. Just the proof. 2 days later, he unfollowed my ex. 3 days later, he deleted his account. I watched it all quietly. No gloating. No messages. I didn't need recognition. What I needed was leverage. I was collecting cracks. Hairline fractures in her image, her comfort, her circle. And then I hit her where she wasn't looking her credit. She'd used my name last year to get a better interest rate on a furniture card. She never took me off the account. I froze the card. Legally. My name, my right. That same weekend, she tried to buy a new mattress. Declined. She texted me that night. Really? Grow up. I didn't answer. That's when I knew something had shifted. She wasn't mocking me anymore. She was reacting. Panicking. She felt the floor move just enough to lose her balance. And I was just getting started. I should have known she wouldn't take it lying down. The thing about women like her, they don't just survive conflict. They feed on it. And I had poked the wrong kind of wolf. It started with a phone call from my bank. Hi, Mr. Landon. We're calling to verify a recent change request. Someone tried to update your contact information on file. What kind of update? I asked. New phone number, new mailing address, and a request to remove your two-factor authentication. I froze. Did it go through? No, sir. We flagged it. That's why we're calling. But it was a close one. It didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. She had access to old files. She knew my mother's maiden name. She knew my security habits. She'd helped set up half of them. I thought I was ahead. I wasn't. I checked my email. Someone had tried logging into 2 of my old accounts from an IP address in the same zip code as her apartment. Again, denied. But the attempts were stacking up. Then it got worse. My job called. I hadn't told them much about the breakup. I kept things professional. But my manager pulled me aside one afternoon with a strange expression. Hey, listen. I don't know what's going on in your personal life, but we got an anonymous complaint. About what? He hesitated. About you. Said you've been unstable. Mentioned you were harassing someone. Even sent a screenshot of a post. It's vague, but it implies stalking. I felt the floor drop. The post she used? A story she uploaded with the caption. When the trash takes itself out but keeps crawling back. There was no name. No photo. Just enough smoke for people to start seeing fire where there wasn't any. I asked him directly, do you think I did this? He shook his head. No, but HR still has to file it. Just a heads up. I left work early that day. When I got home, I found something else waiting. A letter. A formal notice that someone had requested a review of my credit report, citing suspected fraud tied to joint accounts. She didn't just hit back. She declared war. That night, I got a message. Not a text. A DM. From an anonymous account with no posts and no followers. Still think you're clever? Attached was a photo. Me, taken from across the street, walking into my building. She was watching me now. It wasn't subtle. It was deliberate. Psychological. She wanted me off balance. Wanted me second-guessing my own moves. She'd figured out someone was hitting her from the shadows, and even if she wasn't sure it was me, she knew how to apply pressure where it would hurt. And it worked. For the first time since she laughed in my face, I felt fear. Not just of what she could do, but of how far she was willing to go. Because now, this wasn't just about love or betrayal. It was about control. And she wanted it back. She thought I'd fold. After the anonymous message, after the fake report to HR, after the attempted identity fraud, she expected me to disappear. Lay low. Back off. Instead, I got quiet. And sharper. I stopped reacting and started listening. Watching. Collecting again. It started with a detail I almost missed. One of her photos, posted to a story, then deleted within hours, showed her in a bathroom mirror selfie. Same half smirk. Same pink nails. But in the reflection, just barely visible, was a square orange badge clipped to a lanyard hanging from the doorknob. I knew that badge. She was temping at a finance company downtown. Not officially employed, just contract work. A foot in the door, she called it when we were still together. That mattered. Because contract workers have no job security. And I knew someone who worked in that office. Mel. She and I weren't close, but we'd met at a holiday party once. She liked me. Said I was the only guy there who didn't try to talk over her. I remembered that. So I sent a message. Kept it polite. Casual. Told her I heard someone I used to date got hired as a temp at her firm. Just wondered if she was adjusting okay. Hope she's not causing drama. You know how messy breakups can be. Mel didn't bite right away. But 2 days later, she replied. What's her last name again? I told her. And just like that, the floodgates opened. Apparently, my ex had been telling people in the office all kinds of things. That I was obsessed. That I couldn't let go. That I'd shown up to her place uninvited. That I had mental episodes. All vague enough to be gossip. All damaging enough to paint me like a problem. But here's where she slipped up. She had told 2 different versions of the story to 2 different people. In one, I was showing up outside her building at night. In another, I was blowing up her phone. Mel knew both people. And Mel doesn't like liars. Especially ones who treat contract jobs like therapy sessions. By the end of the week, I had an audio recording. A 3-minute clip of my ex talking in the break room, laughing with another temp. I told him I was being harassed. HR eats that stuff up. The guy's too scared to fight back anyway. That was the moment everything shifted. I didn't go to the police. I didn't blast it online. I sent the clip, anonymously, to her company's ethics officer. No comment. No accusation. Just the file. Then I waited. 3 days later, she vanished from the company directory. That night, her story went dark. No gym selfies. No dinner photos. No captions about energy. I'd hit something real. Not just her reputation, but her livelihood. She sent me a message. Was this you? You really want to do this? Fine. No denial. No deflection. Just confirmation that I'd finally landed something she couldn't laugh off. For the first time since it all started, I slept like a stone. But I knew better than to think it was over. She was quiet. And that's when she was most dangerous. I didn't hear from her for 6 days. No posts. No texts. No late-night anonymous DMs. Just silence. At first, I thought maybe it was over. Maybe I'd pushed far enough. The job was gone, her narrative was cracking, and people were starting to question her version of things. For a second, I believed I'd won. Then, the letter arrived. It wasn't certified. Just a plain envelope slid under my door while I was out. No return address. But I recognized the handwriting immediately. Inside was a copy of a rental agreement. My name was on it. So was hers. The lease for the storage unit I forgot we co-signed during our wedding planning days. The one we used to stash old boxes, decorations, and backup furniture. I hadn't thought about it since last summer. Attached was a note. 5 words. No signature. Might want to check soon. I drove straight there. The unit was half empty. Not cleaned out. Not trashed. Just altered. One whole corner, everything of mine, was missing. Boxes labeled childhood, college, and photos were gone. A bin marked Mom's Things was open, the contents spilled and partially soaked in something. Bleach maybe. I didn't even have the strength to smell it. My old journals were shredded. One was smeared with lipstick. But what gutted me most? My dad's watch was gone. He left it to me the day he died. I didn't wear it often, but I kept it wrapped in cloth, tucked inside a wooden case, under my old university hoodie. That whole box vanished. I stood there in the middle of the concrete floor, breathing like I'd been punched in the chest. Not angry. Not even shocked. Just empty. I knew she had access. I should have shut the unit down months ago. But I didn't think she'd ever go after something that personal. Something that sacred. Later that night, she posted again. Just text on a black background. Sometimes you have to burn the past to stay warm. She wasn't hiding anymore. I didn't message her. Didn't threaten. Didn't respond. Because she wanted that. Wanted to trigger a scene so she could play victim again. Use it. Manipulate it. Instead, I filed a report for theft. Quietly. Attached the lease, the time-stamped entry logs, and the inventory I'd kept in a spreadsheet. It wouldn't bring the watch back, but it would create a record. A legal one. And I wasn't done. I started building something new. Not just a counterstrike, but a trap. Something deep. Slow. Permanent. Because now I understood she didn't care about money, image, or even love. She wanted proof that I was still hers to destroy. And I was about to give her something she'd never forget. After the storage unit, I stopped playing defense. No more waiting to see what she'd do. Now it was my turn to trap her, not just in consequences, but in narrative. I wasn't going to hit her with anything loud. I wanted quiet dread. Pressure from all sides. The kind that doesn't scream, it whispers, "You're not safe anywhere anymore." First, I found her pressure point. She had recently started renting a room to a college girl, said it helped cover rent. I found that out through public roommate listings she'd carelessly posted months ago. Still up. Still linked to her name. I contacted the girl. Not directly. Through a fake profile. Female. Friendly. Said I was interested in renting the room because I'd heard great things about the building and about her. The roommate responded fast. Naive. Eager to overshare. Within 2 days, I knew. 1. My ex wasn't on the lease. 2. The unit was in her cousin's name. 3. The landlord didn't know she had a subtenant. 4. And most importantly, she hadn't paid her full share of rent in 2 months. That was enough. I printed everything. Screenshots, messages, the listing, and a notarized letter from the cousin, who owed me a favor from years ago. Long story. I mailed it to the landlord. Certified. The eviction notice landed on her door 11 days later. She posted nothing that week. But I wasn't done. Remember the sanitation guy? The one she wrapped herself around in front of me? I found his ex. She'd posted on a message board months ago complaining about his behavior. I reached out. Told her I had some info she might want to hear. She was hesitant until I mentioned my ex's name. Turned out he was still using his ex's car. Still registered in her name. Still insured under her policy. And she didn't even know. So I tipped off the insurance company. Policy voided. 3 days later, a mutual friend said my ex was ranting about how he got pulled over and the car got impounded. Some jealous psycho called it in, she said. I wasn't there. Didn't need to be. They were unraveling, both of them. Job gone. Housing unstable. Relationship breaking under pressure from all angles. And no proof it was me. Then I played the final hand for now. I hired someone. Not to follow her. Not to harass her. Just to serve her. With a formal cease and desist letter tied to the false harassment claims. The letter included screenshots of her fake accounts, witness statements, and a reference to an open theft report. All legal. All quiet. All real. She didn't respond directly. But she changed her number. Again. And deleted 3 months' worth of posts overnight. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was tactical. Because deep down, I knew. She wasn't done yet. Everything went quiet for 2 weeks. No posts. No retaliation. No rumors. I thought maybe I'd pushed her past her threshold. That she was finally backing down. That I had won. Then the email came. It wasn't from her. It was from HR. My job was opening an internal investigation. Subject, Notice of Employee Conduct Review. Attached, an anonymous tip accusing me of weaponizing my position to stalk and retaliate against a former partner. There was no name in the complaint. Just screenshots, selectively cropped ones. Out-of-context phrases from group chats. One clip of a conversation I had with a colleague about getting even, taken wildly out of proportion. I sat at my desk frozen, staring at the header on the email like it might rewrite itself. They scheduled the meeting for Friday. I had 3 days. I tried to stay calm. Tried to gather context, documentation, anything to prove what was real and what was constructed. But in the pit of my stomach, I knew. She'd done it. She'd found my pressure point. My last one. She didn't go after my finances. Or my friends. She went after my stability. My livelihood. The one place I'd kept sacred. She was brilliant. I'll give her that. Because she never even had to show her face. She let the system work for her. Just like always. The meeting was brutal. Cold. Formal. I wasn't fired. But I was suspended, pending a second review. 2 weeks. No pay. No access. No explanation to coworkers. Just silence. I walked home that night, watching my breath fog in the air as if even my body didn't want to admit what had just happened. She got what she wanted. I was out. Not legally. Not permanently. But I was out. And that's when I realized. I underestimated her. Again. I thought she'd slip. Thought she'd get messy. Thought her emotions would make her reckless. But no. She was patient. She waited. And when she struck, it was precise. Sharp. Almost invisible. She didn't humiliate me in front of the world. She did something worse. She made me invisible in my own life. I spent the next few days walking around in a fog. No schedule. No emails. No purpose. I almost gave up. But then, as I was cleaning out old files, I found something I hadn't looked at in years. A document. Buried under tax folders. Something from her past. A mistake. One she forgot I knew about. One she thought would stay hidden forever. And that's when it hit me. I had the power to end her. Entirely. Not just with petty sabotage. But publicly. Financially. Legally. It was all right there. I didn't sleep the night I found it. It was just a PDF. One page. A scanned letter she forged years ago to qualify for a student housing benefit. She used someone else's income information, her aunt's, and claimed it as her own. Lied to get reduced rent for 6 months. At the time, I helped her print it. Never asked questions. No? It was fraud. Not some gray area, oops, either. Real, provable, prosecutable fraud. A crime with a paper trail and an email signature. The kind of thing that, if reported now, could invalidate her current lease, revoke her eligibility for city housing assistance, and trigger a red flag that would follow her across every property management company in the state. It would ruin her. I had the file. The metadata. The name of the property manager she lied to. And this is what really gave me leverage. A copy of the email she sent me at the time asking me to edit it to make it sound official. Her name. My copy. Her request. It was airtight. I sat with that information for a full day. Didn't touch it. Didn't tell anyone. Just held it. Until she found out. I don't know how. Maybe someone in HR tipped her off. Maybe she finally realized what was missing from her past digital trail. But that evening, I got a knock at my door. I opened it, and there she was. No makeup. Hood up. Eyes red. She didn't say anything for a full 5 seconds. Just looked at me like she was waiting for a gunshot. Then she said, "Please don't do this." She didn't yell. Didn't argue. Didn't lie. She knelt. In my doorway. Like the fight was gone. "I know what you found," she whispered. "I know what it means. And I know what you think of me." I didn't respond. She looked up. Her eyes were shaking. "I'll lose everything. I'm not saying I don't deserve it. I probably do. But please, please don't do it." Silence. Then she did something I didn't expect. She pulled out her phone, unlocked it, and held it up. "You can have everything. The accounts. The photos. The texts. I'll delete every story. Every post. I'll even call your job and tell them I lied. Just please." She broke down completely. Sobbing. Like the war had finally taken everything she had. I stood there, watching the person who once mocked me on her couch, now trembling on her knees in my hallway. And I realized something. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted freedom. So I took the flash drive from my pocket. Held it out. She looked at it like it was a weapon. Then I dropped it in her palm. "Destroy it," I said. "All of it. Right now." She did. Right there. Smashed it on the concrete steps. And when she looked back at me, waiting for the next order, I stepped back inside and shut the door. No more words. No more war. I chose peace. Not for her. For me. And now, what would you have done in my place?